Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Marcus and today I'm going to show you how to do the air rally. The rally is definitely one of the most fascinating tricks in wakeboarding which everybody wants to learn from the beginning. But this is also one of these tricks where many people do not know how to learn. In the video I try to explain very detailed the single steps of this trick. One of the most important things is that you understand exactly what happens during the performance of the trick physically. For getting a first overview, I summarize for you. For doing a rally, you have to edge in a certain angle against the cable to build up pressure. If you edge very short and aggressive, then you will release the board by the so-called flick. This power created by edging will drag you into the air. Because of the height of the cable and the direction of the rope, this is the only way how the power and the pull of the cable can release. For doing a rally, you should be able to hold the edge and the tension of the rope, which is a big problem for most of the people. You have to hold the edge with pushing your board with your legs and pulling the rope with your arms as long as the cable drags you out of the water. Because without any pull on the rope and pressure on the board by edging, a rally and any other invert will be very difficult to learn. That means that everybody who tries to jump out of the water or tries to bring himself into the rally position will not work. Because you lose the power and the pressure you were building up during edging. So, jumping out of the water by yourself will not work at all. You have to build up pressure, keep holding the edge and flick the board against the water. So, you have to maximize the pressure and the cable will drag you out of the water into the air. So, please watch that video again and again until you understand what physically happens during the trick. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense to try and practice the rally. The next very important thing is your riding level. It's very important that you are able to use the edge of the board and that you are able to edge against the cable. If you are more sliding than cutting on the edge, you should practice edging the board for a certain time first. Make sure that you edge progressive, which means that you start more relaxed and increase edging stronger and stronger. You also should be very comfortable on the board and have a basic trick range. Many people are asking me which list of tricks is required for a rally, but there's not an exact trick list for a rally. But if you're not able to make a clean ollie heel side frontside 180 for example, if you cannot control the board and yourself while performing a trick, you will not manage a difficult trick like a rally. You should be able to perform basic tricks like an ollie heel side backside 180 or clean riding over the obstacles. These basic tricks will improve your riding level, you will achieve more control and a better feeling about your board. But the most important, that you understand the cable. You have to learn how the cable reacts in different situations while you are edging and building up pressure. You will improve your riding level when you practice basic tricks and perform the proper before you start hitting the air rally. A good clean air rally will bring you to the next level in wakeboarding and will open doors for tricks like crypt, front flip, S-bend, but only then. The right spot for practicing the rally is straight behind the motor tower, no matter if you are with your left or with your right foot in front. At first, I will explain how it works edging right side of the tower with your right foot in front. And at the end of the video, I will explain what you have to do if you are edging left side of the tower with your left foot in front. I think everybody, including myself, knows the feeling if you want to start with the rally. The round before, you have already a different kind of feeling in your stomach because you're expecting a hard crash. But all this is not necessary if you watch this tutorial and listen to my advice on the different steps of the rally. In my opinion, most of the people are not able to stick the rally with the first try. So the question is, will you try the first attempt doing a rally with massive edging and a lot of build-up pressure? Of course, in this case, you have to expect a hard crash. This happens in the most cases. If you try it more relaxed, with less edging and intermediate pressure, just for getting a first feeling for what's happening. You may not stick the trick in the first run, but the impact will be quite soft. Now you have the first impression for the trick and the pull dragging you out of the water. I would recommend to edge somehow softer for the first tries and a smooth cut where you flick the board very quickly but intensive. So you will get a first very good feeling about what's happening. As mentioned before, the impact is not as hard and painful as in the most cases expected. So you won't have the problem that many people have, that you build a blockade in your head. With the result that you are not able to continue your rally practice because you're afraid to flick the board and the impact that may follow. In my opinion, you shouldn't change anything like the rope length or something during practicing the rally. If you have the same parameters, every time you will have a better control with every new try and you are able to save that feeling in the long term. The right approach is very important for the success of the trick. I would split the approach in 3 different categories. The first category we talked already before, where you just want to get a first feeling for the trick. The second for a normal rally which you can land and finish. And the approach for a really massive rally with a lot of pressure, airtime and the option to learn further tricks with your rally. The requirement is that you are able to do a nice cut on the edge, as I said before. It's helpful if a friend records you with a camera so you can watch yourself. Or you talk to the cable staff and you ask them for a statement if they think that your skills are on the level to try a rally. What you see very often is that some people are edging that hard and aggressive that it seems that they are going for a double ass bend. The problem is that you won't find the right moment for flicking the board against the water. So you will get frustrated and you won't have success with your rally. So right around the corner of the motor tower as usual for your first tries. Then edge soft against the cable to the right side, build up pressure and try to flick the board. This should be done in one complete movement. The right technique for the flick will be explained later in this video. After your first tries, you will see that the impacts are not that hard and painful and you can continue your practice without any worries. After a while, you will get a good feeling for flicking the board against the water and the cable. You will feel more comfortable and you should try to take a bit more speed and pressure for the approach and maybe you are already able to stick your first rally. While doing the approach for a normal rally, the focus has to be on the right posture. Because with the right posture, you are able to build up pressure which will track you out of the water. Make sure that you edge progressive, which means that you start relaxed and increase the pressure by edging as mentioned before. The right posture for the approach looks like this. Your arms shouldn't be straight off your body or fully tightened to your body. Make sure that you pull your arms halfway to your body. Just go for something in between. The halfway works best for me. Your legs should be almost straight and maybe with a small angle that you can build up pressure. Lean back during edging, but not too much. Your butt will be the throttle. As more you bring your butt to the water, as more aggressive you will edge and build up pressure. But also here, for the first approach, halfway should be enough if you want to avoid a hard impact. Please remember, not speed will be the key for success, it will be the right technique as right posture which will build up pressure and flicking the board will track you in the air. Now, this is the point which makes this trick more difficult as others. How do I have to flick the board that it tracks me into the air for a rally? Of course, every rider that is able to do a rally would describe somehow a bit different. But I try to explain how I feel the flick and how I do it. I also would split the flick in 2 different categories. The flick you should use for the first tries to get a first feeling. And the flick for doing a higher and massive rally when you already sticked a couple of rallies in a row. So, with your front foot you will start edging short and intensive against the cable using your heel side. So, you will build up the pressure you use for flicking your board and releasing for your rally. Very important is that you stay on the heel side edge while doing the flick. If you lift your front foot up like this, you will lose all the pressure because you lost the edge. So make sure that you stay on your heel side edge as long as you can until the pull of the cable is lifting you out of the water. When you feel more comfortable with your rallies after some time, you can try to flick the board more intensive by straightening your leg. Because straighten your leg can build up even more pressure and will get more airtime. A classical mistake is the wrong posture while doing the flick. The problem is that most people believe that they have to go into the rally position by themselves. But this will not work, because when you practice it in advance like I'm doing here, you can see perfectly that when you try to go into the rally position by yourself, you will lose the pull of the rope and the pressure build up while edging. That's really one of the most important things for the success of an air rally. So please make sure that you stay with your whole body behind the board while doing the flick. So you will keep the pressure, the tension of the rope and the pull of the cable. When you feel comfortable with your rallies, you may lean back more by using your weight. Doing this will build up even more pressure and give you more airtime. Okay, now we are up in the air and the flight phase starts. The first thing, which is very important, which happens to the most of the people who are already able to do a back roll, or when they try the switch rally with the weak foot in front, is that they turn their shoulder to the outside after releasing the board from the water. In order to avoid that, focus on keeping the shoulder straight, especially the shoulder on the outside while releasing the board from the water. Support this by looking to the water when you're in the flight phase. So you can prevent that your body turns too much and you have a good feeling about the height of your rally. The second very important thing for the flight phase is that your body is not too stiff, because then it's way harder to get the legs back under the body for the landing. Especially for the first tries when you feel that you have built up a lot of pressure and the flick worked fine. Allow your body to get into the rally position, allow the board to get over your head, because then it's much more easier to get the board back under your body for the landing. Of course, it's important to find a way in between, because the rally will not work too if there's absolutely no tension or stability in your body. So make sure that you have a basic stability in your body, but try to allow your body and the board to get into the rally position while keeping the basic stability. So then landing will be much more easier. For having a safe landing, try to pull the handle to your body when you're in the rally position. So you will start the landing and bring the board back under your body. When you feel that it will be pretty close to bring the board under your body within the first tries, and you are afraid that the edge snaps into the water, you can try to bend your knees and take a compact position to avoid that within the first tries. But when you're doing normal rallies, you shouldn't do that, because then you cannot absorb the impact of landing very good. For the rally and for every other trick in combination with much airtime, it's very important to absorb the landing impact by bending your knees. If you want to do a rally with your left foot in front, you should proceed basically as I explained before. Of course, the big difference is the approach to edge to the inside of the cable. The best way to practice the rally is to edge around the corner of the motor tower. So, I will explain the different options you have for the approach. Of course, every cable is a little bit different, so it's hard to explain that you have to cut 2 meters from the outside of the corner or something like that. But it's definitely helpful to use the rest of the pull when you're passing the peak around the corner. That means that you should go around the corner in a kind of quarter circle with a constant pull on the rope before you start edging to the inside of the leg. Another option is to try the rally directly when you left the start place. But I wouldn't recommend to do that, because you will have a lot of speed, and as I mentioned before, speed is not the key to success. For this approach, it's way harder to find the right moment for the flick. Another problem by doing a rally after the start is that many people flick the board too early directly under the cable, where the angle and the pull are not so good. So please practice as explained for the right foot in front before. Try your first rallies with less speed to avoid hard impacts and to get a first feeling for the trick, so you can learn it much easier and faster. To improve your rally, to have more airtime and to get him look more massive, the following points are important. The first point is how many speed you have for the approach. If you have a lot of speed for the approach, you can manage in combination with the right flick technique how massive the rally will be, and which flight curve you really will have. That is very important, especially for further tricks like blind tricks, for example. The second important point is how long you stay with your body behind the board and how deep your butt is while flicking the board. As mentioned before, the butt is the throttle for building up pressure. If your butt is near to the water and your legs are more straight while edging against the cable, you will build up a great tension and pull on the rope. With the right technique of flicking, you will have huge airtime. But be careful in this way, impacts can be very hard, so only if you feel really confident with your rally and riding level, start with massive edging. Also important is the intensity for the flick. With the intensity of the flick, you can also control how your rally will look like and which flight curve it will have. But it's hard to explain because every rider has a different feeling for that. So, when you arrive to that riding level, I would recommend to try out some different techniques for the approach and the flick to find the right balance for different tricks and variations. But all of that are important points to make different rallies to make them more smooth or massive. So, altogether, this was the tutorial for the air rally. As you may noticed, I put some work into that video and I tried to be as detailed as possible. Because I think that's one of the most interesting tricks, especially in cable wakeboarding. I want to mention that the tutorial is based on my personal opinion and experience, and it's definitely not the only way to success. But if I could support some of you finding their mistakes or hitting the air rally more confident in the first time, I'm very happy and my goal will be achieved. If you liked the video, feel free to give me a like or comment, I would really appreciate. If you don't want to miss the next videos, just subscribe to my channel and follow me on Facebook and Instagram. If you watched the video until the end, thank you very much for being with me, take care and see you in the next video.